So, Robot, I think what you're basically saying I completely agree with, that we should establish before we, start doing any kind of other philosophical inquiry what the empirical facts are. And the empirical fact seems to be, as you put it, that phenomenal experience follows from neural experience. And you gave us a whole bunch of brain experiments that pretty much prove this. But let's see if we can kind of interpret what you're meaning to say when you say that phenomenal experience follows from neural experience. Because really, yeah, when I touch the computer, you can say that you would say that that's a neural representation in my brain somewhere. But it's also represented in my fingers, right? And so whatever the computational process is, whatever the information processing that's going on is, it's present throughout my body. So it's not just neural or brain experience in here somewhere, but it's distributed throughout my body. There are nerves everywhere. You have what's called an intransitive experience of your own body. Intransitive rather than transitive, which would be oriented outward, beyond yourself, towards other objects. Intransitive experiences of your own body, and you feel the whole thing. Certainly when you have a severed limb, you will still have this phantom limb sensation, but it's frozen. You can't move it. And so the brain can't do the whole arm. It can't feel the whole arm. The phenomenal experience is not of a whole arm. It's of a phantom arm. There's a distinct difference, not only because of your visual experience, but then it does seem like you can, with vision, fool yourself pretty well. You can visualize very well. The human brain has a very powerful imaginative ability. Think of dreams. You can almost replace reality with a fantasy, with an imaginary world. Ramachandran's experiment, I'm sure you've heard of how he can cure phantom limb syndrome by putting someone in a mirror box and just letting them see their remaining limb reflected as if it were their severed limb, and all of a sudden, just by looking, the brain fools itself into being able to move its real arm again. So the brain is powerful, but usually our normal experience is distributed throughout our body, and we feel an experience in an embodied way, not just with the brain. And I think it's important just to recognize that, because then when you talk about information processing, you're not talking about something that's substrate neutral. That's, we can talk about information in a completely abstract way, but when we're talking about organisms, we need to talk about it in a semiotic way, in a sense that it is physically instantiated as something, and because it is, it's feeling, or it has meaning. It has it forces or demands concern from someone. It needs to be interpreted. This is information not in the way that Claude Shannon would use it, or that quantum physicists or information theorists would use it, but they've kind of hijacked the word. Information, if it's anything concrete that could actually play a role in the physical world, it must be saturated with feeling. That's how it transmits its information. It exchanges a message by reaching out and touching something else. So phenomenal experience does follow from neural experience, or let's just say from from nerves, just they're in the brain, they're in the body, they're distributed. Phenomenal experience follows from nerves. And then, when we look at this, the sequence of time here, it seems like if I'm wired up to an electroencephalogram and the researcher is monitoring my motor cortex, they can predict, a fraction of a second before I actually move. But is that supposed to be proof that free will is impossible? I mean, if free will is just the ability to act right now in this instant and do something that was completely, unforeseen, there was no preparation for it, it was just out of nowhere, then, yeah, it doesn't seem like free will is possible. But if free will is the ability over a duration of time, in other words, over an actual concrete moment of experience, anticipation is something we do all the time. We, if I want to pick up this water, I pick it up. But even we can anticipate, even next year, we can anticipate 10 years from now. And these ideas we have of ourselves, which they're potential, but they're also actual because they guide our behavior now. That's maybe what freedom we have. It's not entirely new. It's not given completely in disregard for the past. I mean, the only reason we have any creative potential is because we do remember our past. We know how to do something moderately new or novel. So it's all a matter of how concretely we think about time, whether or not free will is possible or not. If time is just a series of instants, then free will is not possible, because one instant necessarily follows from the one that came before it. But if time is this spread out or wave-like phenomenon, where some waves are higher or some moments are more intense than others, and we learn more or we are more creative, then free will is possible. But it's the kind of free will that takes time to develop, and that is constructive, that is paying attention to the past and doing something which makes it better. I mean, that's what creativity would be, right? It would be taking something that's already there and making it more valuable, more beautiful, more good. And that seems to happen all the time, right? I mean, otherwise, that's where the meaning and purpose and value of our lives come from those experiences. And so they do happen. I don't think anyone would disagree that they have moments of insight or bonding with others in a way that has never happened before. I mean, and, you could still say it's all determined, but you appreciate it because you see, it could have been otherwise, right? So, maybe we want to just deny that there ever is a moment that really matters more than another moment. And in that case, then life is pretty dreary, I guess. But if there is such a thing as neural experience of nerves, then there must also be experience of molecules, because the nerves are molecules, and if molecules, then atoms, and if atoms, then protons and electrons, and if them, then quarks, and that's what's doing the feeling or the experience right now through my neurons. And we can say that these neurons are intimately related to the environment out there, and that I can't do anything but when the moment is right. It doesn't mean that either I or the environment is determined. We're both creative together. That's it.